প্রথমে প্রফেসর ইমরান যেটা বলছিলেন একটু পরিচয় তো আমি যেটা করি আমি বাংলাদেশে we are building a health company which is called Telenor Health, a digital health company. আমরা কি করি I'll come back to a bit later. But the other thing that I do is I work with a lot of founders across markets. So I do a lot of personally I do invest a lot, and most of these companies are based out of Silicon Valley. কিছুটা আছে আপনার Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Singapore, Hong Kong. And one or two in Bangladesh. So Asia companies, I'm involved as their advisor, sometimes as investors, sometimes as their board members. And the third thing that I do is I help a lot of young people to build companies. So as part of Founder Institute, as part of Endeavor Indonesia, we take people who has a brilliant idea but don't know where to go, where to take funds, or how to raise funds, who to bring into the companies. So we help them do that and make it big, right? So that gives me sort of like a front row seat of what's happening in the world, because one of the companies, so I just give you companies of two example. One companies that I work with is called Human Longevity Index. The founder is Craig Venter. He won Nobel Prize on medicine. He's known as the father of genome. So he's the first guy who synchronized DNA. And so when I talk with him, so it gives me a very front level exposure to Bangladesh globally, what is happening at the DNA synchronization, what's happening in this whole space. The second thing is another company which is called Planetary Resource. This company actually goes beyond Earth, and they are planning to do something interplanetary. So these are the very high level, very cutting edge technology that we work with. So first, let's talk about technology trend. So you all are impacted by technology. We all are impacted by technology. এটা তো মানে নতুন কিছু না, আমরা সবাই technology impacted. But why is it so important? There is this saying that wherever there is a mobile network, there is a scope to change the world. পৃথিবীতে বাংলাদেশের একদম রিমোটেস্ট পার্ট, অথবা Africa, একদম remotest part, wherever there is a mobile network, there is a scope to change the world. Currently, এই পৃথিবীতে almost 5 থেকে 6 billion, almost 5 billion people have access to mobile network. And there is a scope to change the world of all these 5 billion people. Why do we say that? Why am I saying that wherever there is a mobile network, there is a scope to change the world? The karon hocche, and that is the power of the mobile phone that you carry in your pocket. So go back to the dilemma we have in this world. We have people who are carrying this very powerful instrument in their pocket, one of the most advanced computer, and then at the same time we have a lot of people who don't have access to clean water, financial service, healthcare. So how do we combine these two? That's what we believe, that's what we're trying to do in Telenor Health, and that's what a lot of the companies globally are trying to do, is we are trying to digitize these services. What do you mean by digitization? Let's say you have a book, right? এবং আপনি বইটা আরেকজনকে দিলেন, ওই বইটা আরেকটা প্রিন্ট করা হলো, right? Every time you print a book, there is a cost. But the moment আপনি বইটাকে you transfer, make it an electronic book, you can make 1 million copies without compromising the quality and without increasing cost, very little cost, right? Suddenly, you have created a huge wealth just by digitizing a product. What was atoms, brick and mortar, you have just take it into bits and digitize it, and you have really suddenly opened up a huge wealth which can be distributed to people without a cost. And that's where the power of technology lies. Because kalke আমি যদি আপনার ডাক্তারকে ডিজিটাইজ করে ফেলি, আমি যদি কালকে এডুকেশনকে ডিজিটাইজ করে ফেলি, then suddenly আমি যদি কালকে ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল সার্ভিসকে ডিজিটাইজ করে ফেলি, then suddenly আমি কিন্তু এই যে 5 বিলিয়ন পিপল যাদের হাতে ফোন আছে তাদেরকে I can give healthcare, তাদেরকে I can give financial service, তাদেরকে I can give education. And that is what is happening currently in the world. I'm going to talk about 3 trends or 4 technology trends. Some of these may seem a bit out there, but believe me, these are happening. These are the companies I'm very involved with. This is happening. Let me talk about the first trend. It's something called CRISPR, C-R-I-S-P-R. You know, whenever you have time, go and Google it. You'll learn more about it. So CRISPR is a technology যেটা আপনার শরীরে যে ডিএনএ আছে ডিএনএকে এডিট করে। সো আমাদের একটা বিরাট সমস্যা হচ্ছে আমাদের টু বি এ হিউম্যান বিইং ইজ দ্যাট উই গেট ওল্ড, we get afflicted by diseases. হঠাৎ করে একটা ডিজিজ আসছে, we take medicines, we do surgeries and stuff like that. But a lot of these actually can be solved if we change the DNA, if we can edit the DNA, right? And that is actually happening. There is currently a company called Caribou Bioscience. It's from a professor from Berkeley. She has patented it. Now there's a huge legal battle going on between Harvard, MIT, and Berkeley on who gets the ultimate patent. But the point is this: DNA editing is happening. Recently, I think the company is Novartis. They just got FDA approval of a medicine, cancer medicine, a blood type of cancer, one type of blood cancer. They have found, by using the medicine, they changed the DNA, and almost 98% of the cases, the cancer is completely eradicated from the body. So DNA editing is here. It's going to happen. And what is going to happen is, people will start living longer. Because a lot of the things that happen with age will start getting slowed down. And the company that I mentioned at the beginning, Craig Venter, the name of his company is Human Longevity Index. Because what he's planning to do is increase the lifespan, the quality lifespan, not like a lifespan where you are old and can't work, but you're still living another 50, 100 years, not like that. But you are living in a healthy, effective lifestyle, but living almost 50, 100 years more. That's called HLI, Human Longevity Index. And they are very much at the forefront of doing it. They have a lab in California where you can go, they do a test, and they will tell you what are the possible diseases that might happen in your body 25 years from now. And you can take action from that. So if there is they have found cases where there no present medical technology would have detected it, but they have detected a slight form of cancer that would have manifested 10 or 15 years later in the body. They detected it and they eradicated it. So that's one, right? That's called CRISPR, DNA editing. The second thing is what we call artificial intelligence, machine learning. So if you go to any big, if you talk with any founders anywhere, especially from Silicon Valley, you can't say more than 10 minutes and they will drop this, we are doing machine learning, we are doing artificial intelligence. That's the buzzword, everyone keeps talking about it. So what is machine learning? What is artificial intelligence? There are 2 types of intelligence, right? One is what we call artificial general intelligence, which is like human beings. We can think, we can, put the puzzles together, we can feel. That's general intelligence. And then there is the artificial ASI, artificial specific intelligence, which helps you to focus on certain areas and do it very good. Now, what's happening on the artificial spatial intelligence is that we have made significant progress on that as human beings. Right? We now have machines that can beat Go players, chess players. We now have machines that can do surgery. We now have artificial intelligence that can detect. So if you give the conditions, that can detect your disease much better than a doctor. And they're continuously fine-tuning it. If you go to a doctor, কি হয়? আপনি কি ডাক্তারের কাছে গেলে ডাক্তার আপনাকে প্রশ্ন করে আপনার জ্বর আছে কিনা, আপনার 10-15টা প্রশ্ন করবে, ডাক্তারকে ওষুধ দেয়, রাইট? ডাক্তারের মাথায় কি হচ্ছে? ডাক্তার যখন প্রশ্নগুলো করে, he read some books, and based on the books he understood that these are the symptoms, and from his experience he combined the two and so okay, this is the possible diagnosis and this is the medicine, right? Now think of a machine which has combined the knowledge of 10,000, 100,000 doctors and doing the diagnostics. Which diagnostic will you rely on? Because the possibility of a machine making mistake is less, no? But let me tell you, if you're going into surgery, will you rely on a human or a robot? Still, so আমরা এখনো ওই ইয়েটা ক্রস করতে পারিনি, right? But the times are coming, যখন কারণ আপনার একটা বিরাট সমস্যা কি, let's say you're in a hypothetical situation, you're sitting on this surgery theater after the surgery, right? And then কি হয় surgery তো অনেক complication দেখায়, right? I mean, let's say doctor open করলো and they suddenly found a complication, and then if he's a very good surgeon or she's a very good surgeon, they keep thinking about it, okay, these are the possible and we should do this, and then sometimes they make mistakes. Bad luck. Sometimes they're good, you go back home. Now, if a machine was doing it, there would not have been any motion, right? There would not be any tension, any anxiousness. The machine would know exactly what the problem is, why this patient's blood pressure is dropping, what can be the possible complications, and will work. We are not there yet because after the initial nimbleness, আমাদের হাতে আমাদের surgery করে nimbleness এখন আসে machine. Robot says, so OITA is not happening, but it's moving here. And these are not science fiction, these are something which is currently happening in different parts of the world. এবং আপনার যেটা বিষয় হচ্ছে যে ধরেন এই ইন্টেলিজেন্স এত শক্তিশালী হয়ে গেল যে they start thinking better than us, human beings. তখন কি হবে? তখন কয়েকটা জিনিস হবে, তখন হচ্ছে যে প্রথম হচ্ছে যে তখন we don't need any more lawyers, right? আপনার কয়েকদিন আগে there's one bank called JP Morgan. What they did is they did a lot of their background work to machine, and they eliminated almost 25,000 hours of legal work. Because in 100 hours the machine has done this 25,000 hours of legal work. There are companies which are automating most of the legal cases, the case studies. So for example, if the lawyer চিন্তা করেন, what he or she does is, okay, the case after then she refers to these similar cases that happened, what was the judgment and everything. And machine can do it in a very efficient way, right? So legal work is getting obsolete. And then there is this, all these, what we think is the white collar job, which we think, the guys who are sort of untouched, they're also going to be wiped out very quickly. All those jobs. আপনি যদি চিন্তা করেন যে one of the form of artificial intelligence is what we call automated car. হ্যাঁ, এটা অনেক কোম্পানি আজকাল ট্রাই করছে, উবার ট্রাই করছে, GM ট্রাই করছে, গুগল ট্রাই করছে. So the car is basically drives on its own, going to places, park and stuff like that. এবং ফিউচারে যেটা হবে, you don't need to own a car. হ্যাঁ, আপনার গাড়ির দরকার নেই. You don't need to drive a car. So আপনি গাড়িতে বসবেন, আপনি খবরের কাজ করবেন, গাড়ি নিজের মতো চলতে থাকবে. The cars will talk with each other. And then they will know how to drive, where the traffic is. So suddenly traffic hopefully will go down. And the cars are managing each other. They're going to drop you and go to another place. So there'll be very efficient use of car. এবং accident, আজ থেকে 30 বা 40 বছর পরে লোকজন will look back and say, why were there car accidents? Car accident হলো কেন? And how barbaric it is that people actually die of car accidents. Because that will be the whole future of artificial intelligence. That's how everything is going to be managed. The bigger problem is what's going to happen to us as human beings if we don't have anything to do, right? So read a book. It's a book called Sapiens, S-A-P-I-E-N-S. It's by an author called Yuval Harari, and he wrote a second book called Homo Deus, H-O-M-O-D-E-U-S. So he talks about the whole evolution of why human beings are where they are, why are we so powerful, and what is going to happen in the future when machine takes over. That's it. There's one person named Elon Musk. I'm not sure how many, I'm sure most of you have heard of it. So one of the company he's working on is called Neuralink. So his hypothesis is, and there's a bit of debate, but his hypothesis is if the machine has become so powerful, how do we remain relevant? So his hypothesis is then what we do is we connect our brain to a machine. So we have this big computer, it connects our consciousness, and then basically we upload our information to that machine and we download that to our brain and then we work. That's called Neuralink. Interestingly, an example হচ্ছে they put a small mice একটা maze-এর মধ্যে ছেড়ে দিয়েছে and they put a chip and the mice found a way out. Then they took the chip out and put it in another mice, and the second mice actually did the same thing. So essentially, the knowledge of one mice to another through a chip. So the first way to solve this is আপনি চিন্তা করেন আপনি এখান থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে যাচ্ছেন প্লেনে করে, রাইট? প্লেনটা আপনাকে নামিয়ে দিয়ে আবার আসে, আবার যায়, আবার আসে, আবার আসে। কিন্তু যদি আমরা এখান থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে গিয়ে প্লেনটা নষ্ট হয়ে গেল, আর আসতে পারবো না। কিন্তু প্রত্যেকটা ট্রিপ এরকম হতো, তাহলে একটা টিকিটের খরচ অনেক বেশি হতো। The reason of a ticket is affordable is because the plane goes up and down, up and down, right? That was the problem with rocket. আগে যেটা হতো রকেট একবার চলে গেলে ফেরত আসাটা ইউজ করা যেত। The way to make your career future-proof is to be a maker. You have to make things. Right? Unless you make things, you cannot make your future career-proof or career future-proof. And to make things, you need to know how to build things. You need to take risks. You need to be an entrepreneur in the loose sense of the word. And you need to build companies or ideas and make $1 billion companies out of zero, nothing. You need to have that thing, right? You need to have that in yourself. Because only then you can withstand whatever the trend that's coming out and ride the wave rather than getting swept away by the wave. Right? And that's where the entrepreneurship comes around. The challenge nowadays, which has been significantly removed, is this. আগে একটা কোম্পানি করতে অনেক খরচ হতো, হ্যাঁ? আগে একটা কোম্পানি করতে uniquely thousands and thousands of dollars. Because of this Amazon Web Services and computers getting cheaper and everything, pushing power, you can really build a company very quickly. And if you can build a company very quickly, and if you can put it up in a Google Play Store or in an apps store, suddenly আপনার কাছে কিন্তু not 1000 বা 1 লাখ বা 10 লাখ না, suddenly আপনার customer base হচ্ছে 500 কোটি না, 5 billion people. Because anyone with having access to mobile phone and having an access to App Store is your customer. So think of the potential. You can be sitting anywhere in the world and build an app, put it up in Google Play Store, and you suddenly have billions of people as your customer if your app is good. আপনার একটা কথা আছে যে if you want to be a billionaire, big B, you have to impact the lives of 1 billion people. And if you want to impact the lives of 1 billion people, do something in technology because that's where your distribution is in billion scale. Right? And that's where the entrepreneurship comes in, right? That's why. So আপনারা যদি পৃথিবীর ইতিহাস দেখেন, হ্যাঁ, আগে কি করতো? আগে রাজারা সকালে ঘুম থেকে উঠে ঘোড়া টোড়া নিয়ে বেরিয়ে যেত, জমি দখল করতো। হ্যাঁ, জমি দখল করতো, রাজ্য দখল করতো, because that was the source of wealth. যার যত জমি, তার তত ধান, তার তত, that was the source of wealth. Then this whole industrial revolution happened, and Rockefellers of the world came in, and they became very powerful because capital became the source of wealth. Because if you have capital, you build companies, you build manufacturing, they became very powerful in the world. Now, who has power in this world? Which companies? The companies that can get your attention, right? The reason Google makes so much money, or Apple, because they capture your attention. Every second you spend on an app, Google is making money, or some other company is making money. So it is no longer land, it's no longer capital, it's your attention that is the most powerful thing in this world now. So if I can build a company which captures your attention, I'll become the most powerful person. And that is where the entrepreneurship comes in, because if you're innovative, if you can build something which can be distributed to 1 billion people and capture their attention, you can change the world. Now the third thing, how does it impact you? I think if you connect the two, right, the technology trend and the potential of entrepreneurship, I'll just say one thing, that if you are sitting here in Bangladesh, আপনি যদি বাংলাদেশে বসে আজকে চিন্তা করেন যে আমার আজ থেকে 5 বছর পরে what will Bangladesh look like, or 10 বছর পরে what will Bangladesh look like, and how I want to be part of that change. Okay? never been in the history of the country, Bangladesh, never been there has been a better time to be an entrepreneur than right now. Because never in the history of human world was so much given to an individual. আপনার হাতে এতখানি power পৃথিবীতে আগে কোনো সময় ছিল না। We hear about old days and things like that, but if you look at the world history, each human being never held so much power as you hold in your hand right now. পৃথিবীতে আজকাল, with Twitter you create a revolution. You topple governments with Twitters. With some Facebook posts you can probably change a lot of things. You have never been so connected. You are not a part of Bangladesh or a particular society or a particular university. You are not part of a whole human civilization. You are connected to the whole world. So my suggestions to all of you is take advantage of this. Never been so much power given to an individual. Take advantage of it, make the most of it, understand the trends, and build something that you can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajid Bhai. Now I'd like to open up for questions. Any questions?
Hi, this is Aisha. Thank you so much for coming to ULAB. I actually have a lot of questions. First thing I would like to say, you have talked about all the blessings that technology is doing, but I myself get threatened actually after listening all your examples instead of getting amazed. The first thing is you talk about how the shortage of water is decreasing using the technology and finance and all the things, but according to I think you also will agree that due to technology depression is increasing. You are what about combating depression using the technology rather than the water shortage and all the finance things? The second thing is you talk about using technology, editing the DNA, which will increase the longevity of human. But every year, 8 lakh people are committing suicide, which is 40 people in every second. How about telling people to live life instead of increasing the longevity? And another thing is, technology is replacing the humans. You are talking everything which is replacing the humans. And where will we stand? So what is your stand in this case? Thank you.
So, about depression, what's happening is, because I work on the health sector, so depression is becoming a big issue. It was not revealed to that extent, but obviously we know about it. Depression, especially Bangladesh, there's a social stigma, it's not addressed properly, and creates a lot of challenges to that. The thing about, so there are two things, right? So one is, like I said, technology captures your attention, and then it uses it, right? So it gets more data about you and help you to do things better. Now, if you look at the other way, there is a technology which I use, is like when you work something, there is a technology which actually stops all interruption. So I don't know how many of you, are you guys aware of this block? So the way to be productive in this world is that you always have to block your time, okay? So if you have a block of time to check emails, don't let it go to other ones. So don't check emails all throughout the day. Have blocks of time, right? That's how you bring productivity. And so when you're working that, you build a technology that takes away your mind wandering around and helps you to focus, right? So that's how you negate some of the impact of technology on a day-to-day basis. In terms of depression, what's happening is, actually depression is one thing where probably technology can play a very good role. A lot of these things you can do over phone. There are some companies which are doing a lot of helping all the people who are depressed through app or over phone, helping them mitigate some of the depression's challenges. So there are, technology actually can play a big role. I don't think technology is contributing to depression, but technology can play a big role in attending the depression. So there are quite a few works happening in that space. In terms of, like I said, in terms of the impact of technology, right? Anything can be used in good ways and both ways, right? From atom bomb to whatever, fire and everything, right? It's how you use that. And that's the same thing about technology. So all the development that's happening in technology, that's going to take away most of the jobs, like I said. But that also opens up a lot of new jobs. So think of virtual reality. You should be a virtual reality designer rather than something else, because in future virtual reality will be the big thing. You should start thinking about coding. What is coding? Coding is nothing but telling a machine how to work. Okay, so there is a way to write that way and come out on the other way stronger.
I hope you know me. My question to you is, as Imran sir was asking, one is to clarify what is angel investor. I think most of the students don't know about it. And the second one is may not be relevant to the topic that you have just shared, but most of the students, I mean in my 3 or 4 years experience, they want to join banks. Since you have worked for Stancy, I mean for long, and also in the retail banking side, if you could just share, I mean, how banking can open up, I mean, the professional career in different other sectors, I mean, not necessarily they'll be confined to banking. How actually they can graduate from banking to other sectors. I mean, I think that can help these students as well. Thank you.
So, angel investment is very simple. Let's say, you have a company, right? So, you have to family, baba, ma, bondu, bandu, you start a company, right? So, and you basically design the prototype, you said, okay, this is how the product will look like, and stuff like that. Then you go out and raise funds. So, angel investors is the first outside funds that people like us who write checks on a company. So if you're going out, angel investor is the first one coming in and write checks on you. And then if you start going bigger and bigger and bigger, it goes different level like seed funds, Series A, Series B, Series C. You start raising funds. Some companies even like nowadays is raising $1 billion, $2 billion funds at one go, right? So these are big, but angel is the first outside check, individual check that you raise. So these are angel investors. They are integral part of the startup ecosystem because that's where they take the highest risk and usually they get the highest return. So that's what angel investments. In terms of banking career, I personally think banks are going to change, right? So, I mean, how many of you have heard of blockchain? So so blockchain is going to disrupt most of the things, right? The way we know banking system is not going to be the way it is. But so a lot of things is going to change. The financial service at its core is going to change in the future world. But banking, I think one thing it does is that it trains you in a certain way. And if it trains you in a certain way, as long as you capture that essential managerial leadership skills, you can move anywhere in the world. I mean, I'm an ex-banker, then I moved in a completely different field. But I don't find any problem moving in because once you learn those essence of leadership, you can pretty much apply anywhere you go.
তো আমার একটা জিনিস মনে হচ্ছে যে টেকনোলজি ট্রেন্ডস এগুলো সায়েন্স ফিকশনকেই একটা রিয়েলাইজেশন করার একটা চেষ্টা। তো এখানে কিন্তু আমরা যে কোনো এন্টারপ্রেনারশিপ অর্থাৎ শুরু করতে গেলে কিন্তু তার ফিজিবিলিটি একটা স্টাডি হতে আসলে কি এটা ইমপ্লিমেন্টেবল হবে কি হবে না। ফর এক্সাম্পল আমি একটা উদাহরণ দিই যে আমরা যে কম্পিউটার মোবাইল ফোনকে বলতেছি এত প্রসেসিং পাওয়ার কিন্তু থিঙ্ক অ্যাবাউট যদি আমরা এখন অ্যাপসও দেই আমরা নরমাল কিন্তু কোনো অনেক আর্টিফিশিয়াল ইন্টেলিজেন্স প্রোগ্রাম কিন্তু এই কম্পিউটার চালাতে পারবো না। আমাদেরকে ডাটা নিয়ে ব্যাক টু সার্ভারে প্রসেস করে আবার ব্যাক টু কম্পিউটারে পাঠাতে হবে, কারণ না হলে আপনার যে কমিউনিকেশন লিঙ্কেও যদি সমস্যা হয় তাহলে কিন্তু আমি সার্ভিসটা পাচ্ছি না। এখানে একটা সিকিউরিটি থ্রেট থাকে। প্লাস আপনি যে বলতেছেন এনার্জির কথা, আপনার একটা কম্পিউটারে একটা মোবাইল ফোনে কত পাওয়ারের ব্যাটারি থাকে, হাউ মাচ ইন এনার্জি ইট হ্যাভ। আপনি যদি মনে করেন যে এটাতে ওয়াটার পিউরিফাই করবেন, মোবাইল ফোন ডিজিটাইজ দিয়ে এটা হবে না। তো এই যে বিষয়গুলো থাকে, অর্থাৎ আমি যদি কোনো ভেঞ্চার নিতে চাই তাহলে কিন্তু টেকনোলজির ফিজিবিলিটি স্টাডি কিন্তু করা দরকার। আমার কাছে শুধুমাত্র কিন্তু এটা যে একটা মনে হইলো একটা কোম্পানি দাঁড় করালাম বা এরকম কিন্তু হয় না। এটাকে আসলে রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে হচ্ছে যে আসলে যারা টেকনোলজির সাথে ইনসাইড একেবারে রুট লেভেলে আছে তাদের সাথে কি ইন্টারঅ্যাকশনটা হচ্ছে কিনা এইসব মানে রিয়েলাইজেশন করার জন্য।
হ্যাঁ, মানে এখানে না মানে আমি আজকে যেগুলো আলাপ করলাম আর কি, হ্যাঁ, এগুলো একটু বিট অফ কাটিং এজ, রাইট? সো আমি এবং এই জন্য দ্যাটস ওয়াই আই গেভ দি ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড অফ দিস ফাউন্ডার্স, না, যে গ্রেট ভেন্টার যে সে হচ্ছে ইজ দ্য নোবেল লরেট in medicine, right? এবং পৃথিবীতে he's not the father of China, right? So he's the guy working on this. Cambrian genomics, she's a professor of Berkeley, is working on that. So the reason আমি এই প্রোফাইলগুলো দিচ্ছিলাম because এই বিষয়ে যারা কাজ করছেন they are very advanced in what they're doing and their understanding of the technology and how to monetize the whole thing. I will not expect এখানে যারা আছে to work on CRISPR or artificial intelligence. It is just to broaden your mind. But in general, any business that you want to start, obviously you do a business case, you do what we call MVP. And if you're really into it, learn about lean startups by a person called Eric Ries, E-R-I-C-R-I-E-S. Learn about it. So what he taught is how you can experiment very quickly and see whether it fits the market. You have an idea how you can spend খুব অল্প খরচ করে আপনি আইডিয়াটা টেস্ট করতে পারেন মার্কেটে, and if the idea doesn't work, you just abandon it, go to other one, right? So there's a lot of market testing that needs to happen. Water purifying, stuff like that. So there's a lot of other things that need to happen. But Eric Ries is a very good guy. He has, I think the lean startup is the way to do it. আমরা যেটা করি, আমি আরেকটার সাথে involved with what we call Fund Institute. যেখানে আমরা যেটা করি কি, যারা ধরেন চাকরি করছে, and they want to build a company. So what we do is we spend 3 hours a week. আমরা এবং আমাদের বড় বড় যারা ফান্ডার আছে, যারা like Chaldal and BD jobs, এদের সবাইকে নিয়ে আসি. They take a 2 to 3 hours course once a week. And it's basically a small MBA type. Apnar idea take it, they test it in the market, they from naming the company, from legally incorporating the company to raise the funds, they go through the whole process in three months, and hopefully by that time you leave your job and go full time company. But that's a very different of company building process that I think all of you need to go through if you want to do entrepreneurship. And Bangladeshi context, those are probably the easier ways. Among activities, mone rakhba je Bangladeshi je company gulo hoy, these are not groundbreaking ideas. All these are tested. But what you have to do, it has to have a very good execution. Amse je Pathao hocche, Pathao is not a groundbreaking or Chaldan, right? These are good companies, but Egla has already been tested in many markets. The question you have to address is how do you execute it in the market. Then you can build a big company.
Very small question. Since you've talked about very technological ideas, in your experience in Bangladesh, what is the most technological startup or entrepreneurial idea that you have come across?
আমাদের যে ইয়ে যারা কাজ করছে আপনার cosmetics, so এটা basically Google Glass নিয়ে কাজ করছে, so what they do is Google Glass to launch হয়েছিল and then it didn't fly. But এরা যেটা করছে, they're using Google Glass at the medical centers. The doctors when they're talking with you, they're using Google Glass and they get all your data.
The second question is mine, like global warming is increasing day by day in our world, and what technology can do this? I'd like to suggest like they can use like a filtration of the chimney and all the all contaminated air will become like fresh air, or it will convert into a oxygen. It is useful for human beings and all. And anything else, if it is there, you can just share with the service.
So প্রথম প্রশ্ন যেটা কিভাবে শুরু করবা, so unless তুমি একটা আইডিয়া নিয়ে কাজ করছো, it is not flying, right? So এখানে what you have to decide is whether to kill the idea or not. মানে আমাদের আইডিয়াটা we almost consider like our children. We don't want to kill it, right? But unfortunately idea probably is not right? So you just kill it and move on.
Processing of rocket that went to moon and the cell phone we are using currently, which was very recommendable. It's a great example. I just want to know that you have said that to become a billionaire, we have to focus on innovation regarding technologies. So I myself, I want to be an entrepreneur. So is it too necessary to focus on technological innovation to become a billionaire, or we can focus on any other business ideas to become a billionaire? That's my question.
So the reason I mentioned technology is because I think that's an easily expendable one. But tomorrow you can go somewhere and strike oil and billionaire. So tomorrow billionaire hote gele you have to, so the point I mentioned is in future if you want to be a billionaire you have to impact billions of lives.
So আমি যেটা কি দেখেছি যে there is a company নামটি খেয়াল করতে পারছি না, যে printing 3D printing মেশিন তৈরি করছে। সো মানে their technology is that much fast, মানে তারা রিডিজাইন করতে পারে, আর্টিফিশিয়াল ইন্টেলিজেন্স রিডিজাইন করতে পারে এবং কোনো ফ্ল থাকলে এবং রিডিজাইনের মাধ্যমে তারা ত্রুটি মুক্ত করে আবার নতুন করে সিমুলেশন রান করে, and they are building a bridge যেটা এক মাসে হয়তো কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাবে এবং ইট ইজ 10 times stronger than the যেটা human can reach. There are some other technologies আমি বলি যেটা 3D ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে আছে, যেটা হলো যে মানুষের 3D মডেল বানানো হয় বহু। সো আই ওয়াজ ইন ভিজুয়াল এফেক্টস ফিল্ড। সো এখানে যেটা হতো যে আমরা একসময় কি পুরো হাতে একটা মডেল বানাতাম, হিউম্যান মডেল পুরোটা হাতে, কিন্তু এখন যেটা বানানো হয় যে মানে ইউ টেক সাম দি পিকচার্স অফ হিউম্যান এন্ড দেন পুরোটা সার্কেল ভাবে করা হয়, দেন পুরোটা কম্পিউটার নিজে থেকে নিজে বানিয়ে ফেলে। সো দ্য অল দ্য থিং ইজ অ্যানাদার ওয়েবসাইট, দেয়ার ইজ অ্যানাদার ওয়েবসাইট কল গ্রিড, এন্ড তারা অ্যাকচুয়ালি মানে জাস্ট ইউ জাস্ট মেড এ অ্যাকাউন্ট দেয়ার এন্ড ও আপনার বুঝবে চাহিদা কি, সেই অনুযায়ী আপনাকে একটা ওয়েবসাইট পুরো কমপ্লিটলি বিল্ড করে দিচ্ছে। সো যেটা হচ্ছে যে মানে টেকনোলজি ইজ ডুইং অল দিস স্টাফ, ঠিক আছে, মানে আমাদের স্কোপটা তাহলে কথা মানে they are building all this stuff, they are designing all this stuff, ঠিক আছে, মানে আমরা তাহলে নিয়ম করে কিভাবে চিন্তা করব, মানে
we build a 3D machine.
That is
so how do you 3D is an example.
ওটা actually machine দ্বারা তো বানানো যেতে পারে, মানে machine will build
also build another machine that's going to build it. So quantum technology will change for it. So there's one 3D company called Telenor. They actually are working on printing human organs. Like kidney print, so in which you don't need a kidney transplant, you just put it on. So there are a lot of things happening, right? So the question is that when it will change the effect. So what you have to do is be a step ahead. So you know, like the guys who are building biobots, right? So they are using 3D printer to do something new. You can do that. So the point is always be ahead of the technology change and try to find out which is going to be impact.
Any more questions? We'll wait until.
But as you said, that more than 2 billion people don't have fresh water, access to fresh water, and because they're consuming dirty water, a lot of diseases are taking place. And why isn't technology taking a step ahead to make more clean water available so that these small diseases can be avoided?
That's true. And that's what I think the biggest problem is this. Because আমরা যেটা দেখেছি কি যে পৃথিবীতে যেটা হয় যে development is very much dependent on the money that goes in. আমরা যদি দেখো যে অনেকটা ডিজিজ হয়তো খুব ইম্পর্টেন্স পাচ্ছে, যদি there's a lot of funding going on. আর আরেকটা বড় ডিজিজ আছে because it's probably mostly in the emerging markets. The funding pipe. So that's a big challenge. So যেটা হয় যে clean water, the developed market is not a big problem. So there's not enough funding to solve the issue. Right? So that's where we, as an entrepreneur from this market, is to solve this.
So from there, I invited him to come here. And again, Sajid Bhai, thanks for coming. Now I'd like to ask Sajid Rahman sir to